Prost. Hey, everybody. Just realized today's 18 months for me. Yay! Year and a half. Woo! It's a big deal. I'm a little drained. It's a rough day at work today. But I just wanted to make a quick video. I always seem to say that. It's my lead-in. Obviously, today is day 1.180, so it's a year and a half. 1 year and 180 days, more or less. And today is November 10th. So, yeah, I have a tower of sunlight behind me, which I think I was sitting there working, my work computer's over there. And so for the last couple hours, I've had sun like on my nose, and it makes my nose and my cheeks a little red. So, I'm not Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I've not been drinking. But anyway, yeah. Let's do a quick run around. Hit all the bases here. 18 months, pretty good. No complaints. Like every trans woman I know, would like to have more development, more physical changes. Specifically bigger breasts, body shaping, etc. Also, like every other trans woman I know, if there was a way to change your voice with hormones, that would be wonderful too. Over the course of the transition, probably for the as far as hormones go, probably for the first 6 months, I kind of spoke in a falsetto voice, and that lasted about as long as when I went full time, when I went to work the first day. And no, around the house when it was just me, yeah, sure, the falsetto did great, but did not survive contact with real life. And can't stay inside the house forever. Can't stay in a chat room forever. You got to go. And that was my realization. I was like, you know what? I am the way that I am. And I think that's one of the some of the advantages of being middle-aged or later when you transition is you're somewhat more established yourself. You're not necessarily trying to look 20, 25 and hot. Be realistic. You're an old lady. That's okay. So that's cool. Weight loss is going really, really well. A little bit of a topic on that in a minute. Down to 27.2 pounds that I have to lose. And then I am eligible for GCS. And that would be something I would say to anybody, that there is a weight limit, a weight requirement. You must have a BMI of less than 28. And I was definitely morbidly obese back in March when I went to go have my surgery consult and was told, no, ma'am, you need to lose 120 pounds at least. So I got 27.2 pounds to go. So I'm kind of happy with that. So if you are just starting out transitioning, I would say lose as much body fat as you possibly can while you have the male metabolism, because once you cross over into the female world, you ain't gonna lose weight quickly. You're a stereotypical woman, it just goes to my thighs, etc. So something to keep in mind. Grow your hair out, obviously. It's my hair, all natural. Grow your hair out if you can, and you don't need to wait until you transition to do it. By all means, start as soon as you possibly can. It's a lot easier to cut it and trim it. Not that I've done that. This is like the way my hair was 2 years ago when I got my last buzz cut. I always had an Air Force haircut because I was in the Air Force. And, this is the way my hair was 2 years ago. And so, yeah. What else can I share with you here? 18 months, definitely some physical changes. Like I said, not as much as I care to. A lot of changes up here in the noggin. the ability to push through some blocked emotions, what I think before testosterone. I don't know why I'm talking so fast. Testosterone, I think, was the primary. Testosterone, you get angry and action. And I think with that blocked and with estrogen in your system, it's a bit more contemplative and introspective and, what can we do together? How can we solve this problem? Let's work together. Whereas testosterone is, get the fuck out of my way because I'm coming through, fight, etc. That's just my opinion. Ability to cry. Yeah, big deal. I still have a hard issue crying. But there's some times you want to release it, and you do. So really, 18 months, that's all I can tell you. I just met a new trans woman named Serena on the Facebook, and I sent her a link to my first video, which is me talking over my steering wheel, introducing myself, and it was interesting to look back and see. Not so much, again, there are definitely some physical changes, but it's just so much mentally. And if we could get out of my perception of myself here, if that's possible, and just look at overall being happy with myself, not being as suicidal, not being depressed, not being angry, not being frustrated. Things that I never really, even I knew I was an unhappy person, but why was I so unhappy? And then having transitioned, well, yes, there are some other things you have to be concerned about. You're not fighting your natural emotions and your natural reactions. And in fact, some ways they're unfiltered now, I can definitely say I've been a bitch a couple days, and I've definitely been, a cry little woman too, a whiny little bitch maybe. I don't know, but you have more emotions in your Crayola box, and you have the ability to do them, So that's really, really cool. Now, I did say something about surgery a minute or two ago, and this morning, as recently as this morning, because I like to keep my parents involved in what I'm up to. For a long time I didn't, obviously, and then I transitioned, and so I kind of like for my folks to know what's going on with me. And in this particular instance, my mother will be coming up here and staying with my daughter, and kind of holding down the fort while I have GCS later in the spring in 2018, about 4 or 5 months from now, hopefully, knock on plastic table. And so my mom, as being the caretaker, I need to obviously keep her informed, because in January, when I go and have the second consult, having lost the weight, I'm definitely going to lose those 27 pounds the next 70 days. My mom's going to be, like I said, she's going to be here taking care of my daughter, and so I'm kind of keeping her up to date so that she can keep that time blocked out. Obviously, after having surgery, in my mind, it's the equivalent of a hysterectomy for a cis woman. You're in the hospital for 3 to 5 to 7 days, and then you come home and you got to heal, and it takes 4 to 7 weeks. Everybody's still different, but that's what they say, plan on being off work for 6 weeks. And so, I need to keep my mom kind of informed. And this morning, I kind of gave her an update that, yes, I had gotten the January second consult, and that it was possible that if the surgeon, if I go to the surgeon's office and they don't bring out the pitchfork and the torches and chase me off, that they might kind of tentatively set me up with a surgical date some 3 to 6 months later, while my insurance company does pre-authorization. But just to get my name on the calendar, on her surgical calendar, my mom had the same reaction she's had since I told her in the 90s, some 30 years ago, that I wanted to have GCS or SRS, or sex change operation as it was known at the time. And my mom's reaction was, always, "Are you sure? Can you wait? Do you have to do it now?" And it's been the same thing, like, as I brought it up over time. And then last year, like I said, I went to the surgeon. I was on my plan to have surgery by the summer about a year ago. And it was the same thing. "Are you sure? Are you really sure? Don't you have any doubt whatsoever? Are you really sure that's what you want to do? Can you change your mind? Can you just wait?" All those things. And so again, this morning, she did it to me again. And it's like, I appreciate your concern. And I look at it that it definitely could be something negative. Like, we definitely have people in our families and in our lives who are against us and try to sabotage us for their own entertainment. But in this case, it's I'd look at it as concern. And definitely, if you were going to buy a new car, or I don't know, get a mohawk, your best friend would probably say, are you sure that's what you want to do? Okay, but did you think about it? Did you think about the consequence? Okay, that I understand. But for me, it's like, I've tried to explain to her that it's not an instantaneous process. Like I said, it was about a year ago. In December, I got my letters, and by January and February, I worked in to get the appointment. And so it's like, it seems like I've been waiting forever. That I'm waiting forever. And so again, for her to be like, "Are you sure?" It's like, yes, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure, and I have no doubt. And that's something that a couple days ago I really did some more soul searching. When something is not readily accessible, and it's like when you're starting out and you're transitioning, and you're at one point, hormones seems to be like above the glass ceiling, and you can't get hormones. I got to do this, I got to get letters, and then you get hormones, and you're on hormones, and then you start to think about, well, what if I want to get an orchi done, or GCS, or whatever? And that's like the next impossible thing, or transitioning at work or whatever, and you get to the next plateau. And I don't know why I'm so animated. I guess I must be passionate about it. And so once the barriers are down and you have access to something, that's when you kind of like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to? I mean, I'm already sterile because of the drugs. I can't have kids. The hormones have made me basically a chemical eunuch. And now I'm going to go and pay a doctor to, whack off my cock. And sorry to be so blunt. I mean, that's not what they do. It's more like taking off a sock and pulling it inside out and cutting and like origami. It's like magic, really. Stick this back in here and then sew it up, and, et cetera, et cetera. You reach that point where, like, is that what I really want to do? And so even as recently as like 2 days ago, I sat down and I made a video after I watched the videos, because I get squeamish at that kind of stuff. And it's like, I no longer get squeamish at that thought. And if you can imagine, watching things getting cut and pulled and twisted and torn, it is kind of disturbing in a way. But then at the same time, you're like, but that's what I have to do to go through to get the goal. It's the keep your eye on the prize type thing. And so that's kind of been a revelation for me, as I have accepted that, yes, that is what's going to happen. And yes, I'm going to be off work for 6 weeks. And yes, I will be in a lot of pain. as this thing heals up, and that's worth it. But we ain't there yet. Obviously, we still have a long way to go. We're not there yet. I got 27 pounds to lose, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but I can say that things are pretty damn good all around. Transition at work went really, really well. My company is wonderful. In fact, today they just got awarded or announced they were in Kentucky, one of 3 companies that has a perfect score as far as the Human Fairness Campaign is. And I love my company, and I'm very, very happy, and it took me 42 years to get in this position that I could actually do something about my gender dysphoria. I knew I was trans as a younger age. I didn't know the name for it until I was in middle school, and I found out that GCS surgery was possible, and then I knew that's what I wanted to do. And even though I came to terms with my transgender feelings when I was in my teens, 19, I knew I was transgender, and I knew what I wanted to do. And I had to wait 20 years later, 20, 30 years later to do something about it. And that's something that I always come back to, or you hear other people say, I'm not too old to transition, or I wish I would have transitioned sooner. I think we all have that feeling, and we transition when the time is right, and sometimes we can't see the clocks. We can't see the clocks of the universe and the spheres and all of the possibility and probability that had to line up for us to do what we can do in this life, in this dimension, in this reality. We can't see all the behind the scenes things that have to come together, and so again, yeah, I think we all would have transitioned earlier if we could, but it just wasn't our time. It wasn't our time, and so now's the time, right? So seize the day, seize the moment. That's the tricky bit. Once you decide to seize it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? The other thing I'll do, and then I'll shut up, I promise, is I would say to anybody, I'm going to use this as envelope as a thing, but to anybody, I would say to get out of your head when you are thinking about transitioning. Get out of your head and get a piece of paper, and on one side is where you are today, and on the other side is where you want to be, maybe in the next 3 or 4 years. And do yourself a favor and draw you a road map. If you were driving, you wouldn't go anywhere long distance without some sort of map or GPS or guidance or something. I don't know why when we do our transition, we think we don't need to do that. But seriously, get you a piece of paper. Trust me on this. Trust Robin on this. Get you a piece of paper and draw it out. And think about where you see yourself now, and maybe where you see yourself in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and come up with some kind of a plan. Don't do yourself a favor and do that. And that way, as you progress along that roadmap, you're going to see progress, and you're going to be like, yeah, look how far I've come. And a month or 2 later, you're going to be a little further over. And when you feel like I'm not going as fast as like I want or I can, look at where you are and take it as a thing of strength and pride somewhat in how far you've come. And, like any other trip, sometimes you take the interstate, sometimes you take a road, sometimes you take a bridge or a tunnel. You may have to change your route in your life a little bit to get what you wanted to do. And for me, I wanted to be career Air Force, and back in the 90s, you have to put this in its its diorama here, and its parameters, and its history. Back in the 90s, there was not a chance in hell, to be an Air Force captain and transition and be accepted and all that, So I had to change my life to be something else so that I could get to that point. And again, think about that roadmap, what changes you might have to make. And you may have to move to a different city, a place that is more open-minded to transgender stuff. You may have to change your job to something that's a little more trans-minded. It may require some effort and sacrifice on yourself to get to the goal that you want to be. But the cool thing about making your own roadmap is you get to decide where you want to go, where you want to stop, and if you want to take a break for a while and figure out, okay, maybe I'm happy here. This is where I want to be for the rest of my life. Maybe I want to go to another level. I want to pursue surgery, or I don't need to have surgery. I'm very happy where I'm at. Maybe I don't even need to transition. Figure out, like I said, the roadmap. That's what I suggest to everybody, and I apologize. It's something in our nature when we transition. We want to help other people because in our past we had so much fear, guilt, and shame, and we want to help someone else not encounter those and not to make the same mistakes we do. So it's inherent to try and help someone else out. And then by the same token, when someone ahead of us says what we should do, we're like, what the fuck do you know? We shouldn't do that, should we? We need to listen to what they say, right? Right. In principle. All right, my friends. Well, in good spirits, I'll sign off here. This only happens once. Hopefully, 18-month video, 18-month marker. 18 months, and I guess the next one is going to be 2 years, and we'll see. All right, well, until next time, my friends, good luck to you and have a great day. Bye. We'll see ya. Oh, I thought I turned it off. Did you see me? Okay, it's really me. All right, not a puppet. All right, bye-bye.